One of the really exciting things in EiB Analytics 2.18 is the integration with Power BI. So this allows us to take any templates that we've developed and actually put them on top of our cubes from Power BI. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at how do we actually analyze financial and non-financial information using the same technology. And Power BI opens up a number of other options to us. It actually opens up full drill down on charts, which can easily be achieved. It opens up web deployment and mobile device deployment, and it also opens up new ways of visualizing the data, such as cause and effect analysis, and also actually having a look at geospatial analysis in a lot more granularity than you could do within the Excel environment. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go over and start on, this is a very old, one of the first Power BI reports we did. As you can see, not terribly cosmetically appealing here. But this is really just, I guess, making available some of the reports that you could perhaps do in EiB Report Studio available on the web interactively. So here I'm looking at a P&L report. I can select the elements that I wish down the side there, and I can go and pick a particular cost center in Sage, and that will then go and show me the factory warehouse cost center position, and I could then pick an individual department within factory warehouse, such as bespoke kitchens, and that would obviously then go and get that information as well. So very interactive, but in a similar way, I guess, as what we're providing in Excel. I guess the only difference here is we can provide it to a wider community with people with web browsers who don't even have the EiB application installed. Okay, I can also go across and actually combine information. So again, we're looking purely at the financial analytics side here now. Now we're looking at a mixed report here where we've got a summary P&L of the sales and trading expenses, and I can also scroll that down and look right the way through total overhead. So I've got a scrolling report here through to net profit, and then reporting net profit at the actual bottom in a bar chart. And I can flip between the different types of statement of P&L, balance sheet, and all accounts. I can also look at some more graphical dashboards here, and this is another thing that's quite nice you can do in Power BI. So here I'm only picking particular months. Maybe I have certain seasonality in my data, so you can see here I'm only looking at March, April, June and September, but if I wanted to add January and May, it's as hard as control clicking on January and May, and now suddenly you'll see that those new options now come into the dashboard. So again, really easy to change interactively. Okay, so that is actually just putting the report, a Power BI dashboard, on top of one of our finance cubes and the Sage data set. One of the things you see if you looked at the budgeting demonstration that's on a separate video is ultimately be able to do real-time budgeting and then seeing the cause and effect in Power BI. So we added some values into the April figure of the Sage budget, and now you can see that has come through and show me that on the revised forecast. So Power BI is a good way of showing how you can chart actual versus original budget versus forecast 1 versus forecast 2. You can do that really easily, and you can see here how you do it. You have multiple selections there, and you can then add in accordingly or take things out. If I wanted to take out the Sage system budget there, then I would control click on that, and then that just shows me the information that I'm interested in. So really nice way of analyzing information. We can do some quite nice things with the variance dashboards as well. This is similar to EiB Report Studio. One of the dashboard types we have there is the waterfall dashboard. Again, I can pick selective months here if I wish and look across all my metrics, and again I can home in on a particular cost center and rejig the information for that cost center, and then look at an individual department within that cost center, and you can see all of it fully interactive. Now this stuff, I guess, is what I would call traditional dashboarding. Really, it's interactive viewing of charts and analysis, but we can do so much more with Power BI. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to move over to another application. So we've been looking at finance data so far. But now I'm going to go and have a look at the hotel industry here, and I'm going to look at a particular report here that shows a thing we refer to as cause and effect. Now in hotels, obviously one of the big areas of business is the whole food and beverage business. So we can do some basic analysis here by event type and show the net margin on particular events. But where the thing comes into its own is when we look at the event summary information here. And this is where the cause and effect is very, very powerful. So here we're looking at the same data, but by different ways. We're looking at the net margin, and we're looking at net margin by manager. We're looking at net margin by event name, so whoever's wedding or reception it was. We're then looking at by event status, and then we're looking by event type. Now if I want to have a look at my star salesman here, the star salesman here is Iris Ferry. If I click on Iris Ferry, now what you'll see is the cause and effect across the other charts. So it's amazing here that if you look at the Elena event, the actual event made a loss, but the part that Iris contributed to actually made a profit there. So the event made a loss of -6,000, but Iris's contribution to that was a profit of 5.6. Also, the most profitable event was all due to Iris. You can see there that 121,000. What type of event contributed most of our profit? Well, you can see here cocktail reception actually contributed virtually all of the 125,000. And what type of booking was it? It was obviously a definite confirmed booking. Now I can look at that cause and effect across everything. I could actually click on dinner buffet here, so now I'm looking at event type and see the effect on that. So why did we lose money on dinner buffet? It was actually caused mainly by John Charles making a loss there, and the type of bookings here that were only they weren't confirmed, they were only provisional. So we can see that cause and effect, and you get that functionality pretty much for free if you design a dashboard in Power BI where you lay out the different attributes of your business. As you click on one, the interrelationships automatically happen. You don't have to code that, and that gives you tremendous insights into your business. Now I'm going to go and have a look at that and look at another example of that, and this time I'm going to refer to the insurance industry here. So if we look at a particular report in insurance here, just scroll down here on EiB premiums and claims. Now this also shows you where Power BI brings alternative visualizations here. This visualization I quite like in terms of it's a very simple way of focusing on quantity and best contributors. So I'm looking at what insurers refer to as earned premium, or the acronym here is EGNPI. So earned premium by broker, earned premium by region, earned premium by age band, earned premium by occupation. So it's the same earned premium. The total is exactly the same here. I'm looking for a particular year, which I can change here. And I can see at a glance here that Business Choice, County Southport and Blue Drop were effectively our three largest brokers here. I can see that the age we appeal to, our 60+ drivers, tend to contribute most of our business. They're contributing they're the largest contributors with 3.2 million of the 8.1. And I can also then look at my region information here and see that Greater London is by far the biggest region, and taxi drivers are our biggest occupation. So I can see that's a nice visualization that gives me quantification. But if I then look at the premiums analysis, here what we're doing now is we're looking at our best contributors. So this is another thing I think Power BI adds. Rather than just graphing everything, why not look at type exception type stuff? Who are our star players here? Who are our best performing brokers? What are our best performing regions? And this is where the cause and effect really does come in, because if I pick at, say, Blue Drop services here, I can actually home in on that broker and actually see now what their contribution was across the different regions. So I can see that Blue Drop actually mainly write business in the northwest, and I can see the contribution accordingly, and they write again quite a lot of 60+ business. But interestingly enough, whereas our main occupation for our drivers is taxi driver, in Blue Drop's case they don't. They actually tend to focus on private hire operators or public hire operators and don't do a lot of business in the taxi drivers. But likewise, I could go and actually look at taxi drivers, and if I click on taxi drivers, I can then see the contribution now across the other areas. So I can actually see here that Blue Drop didn't write much taxi business, which we've already proven, but actually some of our mid brokers, so not even our top brokers, tend to write a lot of taxi business other than County Southport tend to do a lot. You get the idea. And that's where this stuff is really, really powerful at looking at cause and effect. And if I just go back, you can also then start looking at more interesting things such as perhaps geospatial analysis. And one of the things I found out how you can do in Power BI is really try and filter the information and get down to the root cause of an issue as quickly as possible by drilling down through the information really, really quickly. And Power BI allows you to do that in a way we can't really do using EiB Report Studio or other BI tools. So here what we're doing, this takes a little while to render, is we're taking some insurance data and we're rendering this for Greater London, and we're going out to Bing Maps and we're actually color coding the maps based on incurred claims values. So what we're saying here is we're going to present a map of data where everything from 0 to 20,000 is color coded in somewhere between green and yellow depending on the severity. Everywhere from 20,000 to 200,000 is color coded between yellow and green in terms of severity. And I've got a very visual representation of that data. I can see instantly where there's issues. So obviously I might want to focus in on a bad issue, so I could actually go across to Staines, and I can see that Staines here has written 1.1 million's worth of gross business, but at the same time their incurred losses is 1.4 million, so they're making a bit of a loss. Now if I click on Staines here, just in the way we saw the cause and effect in other types of visualization, you can see now what's happened. By clicking on Staines now, has homed in on that postcode, which was TW20, so I can see here's the performance. I've got 141% loss ratio. My claims are clearly higher than my premium, which is bad. I'm now breaking down the same business by product. So if I look at the two products that are written in postcode TW20, I can instantly see that private fleet hire is the one that's causing us a problem with 143% loss ratio. And then if I look at the brokers now that are writing those products within that postcode area, I can see that it's Aon that is causing the issue here. So now if I change the sub-agent on the left-hand side here to Aon, then again it will now filter through that information. So now I'm only focusing on the postcode TW20, I'm focusing on Aon as a broker, the products they're writing, which is the fleet hire, and now I've gone right the way down and I've actually highlighted a policy, one particular policy that is providing the issues there. So how cool is that? That I've been able to drill through from a very high level view geographically right the way down to a policy, and I know everything about that policy. I know the postcode, I know the product, I know the broker, and I've done that really, really quickly without leaving one screen. And that is the real power of adding Power BI into the EiB analytics solution. Now Power BI can obviously source data itself, but that's where I think EiB App Studio adds so much value, because obviously we've built all the business logic, error routines, things like statement designers on the financial data. All of that you inherit in Power BI on top of EiB Analytics, whereas if you try to use it outside, you'd obviously have to create and write all that business logic yourself. So it's an ideal combination. And last but not least, what I want to do is say, okay, but how do we consume that same information then on a mobile device? So here you'll just have to bear with me a second if I can do this. I'm going to just try the technology of moving across. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually show you the same information now. Here I'm obviously looking at it on my iPad. So there's a slight delay here whilst the iPad refreshes it to the laptop, but you can see now if I select Power BI, this is now loading up the iOS application, but it's connecting to exactly the same data as we've seen. I'm going to go into my workspaces and pick Insurance Analytics, and if I pick Reports here and I then pick the postcode mapping for fleet, then this should now show exactly the same report as you've just seen in the web browser, but now I'm accessing this live from my iOS app, and I've got exactly the same level of functionality as you can see. So this is live on my iOS app. And just to prove if it's live, I'm just going to deselect Aon here, and you will then see the map refresh itself. As you can see now, the other brokers have come back into the equation. And if I also click on Staines now, you'll see we then go back to a whole picture of London. So I hope that's given you an idea of some of the exciting things you can do by adding the Power BI option on top of EiB Analytics 2.18.